Fenrir, often called the Fenris wolf, is one of the most fearsome and tragic figures in Norse mythology. A monstrous wolf with an insatiable hunger and terrifying strength, Fenrir is the offspring of Loki, the trickster god, and Angrboða, a giantess from Jotunheim. From the moment of his birth, Fenrir was destined to play a central role in Ragnarök, the cataclysmic end of the world. Fenrir's fate, foretold in prophecy, was both feared and misunderstood by the gods, leading them to attempt extreme measures to control and ultimately imprison him. His story embodies themes of betrayal, prophecy, and inevitable vengeance, setting the stage for a fierce confrontation during the end times. When Fenrir was born, he was one of three monstrous children of Loki and Angrboða. His siblings were Jormungandr, the world serpent, and Hel, the goddess of the underworld. Together, these three offspring of Loki were viewed with dread and suspicion by the gods, particularly Odin, the All-Father, who foresaw the ruin they would bring upon the world. In order to contain these powerful beings, the gods took drastic actions. They cast Jormungandr into the ocean surrounding Midgard, where he grew to encircle the world. They sent Hel to rule over the dead in her own realm, and as for Fenrir, they brought him to Asgard, hoping to keep him under control. The gods hoped that by raising Fenrir themselves, they could prevent the destructive prophecy from coming true. However, Fenrir grew at an alarming rate, becoming larger and stronger with each passing day. Soon, his size and ferocity unnerved the gods, who realized that Fenrir's strength would soon surpass their own. Knowing the prophecy that Fenrir would one day devour Odin himself, the gods decided to take preventive action. They devised a plan to bind the wolf, but they needed to be cunning about it. They first approached Fenrir with a test, pretending that the chains they offered him were a game to test his strength. Fenrir, with confidence in his own power, allowed himself to be bound by the first two chains, Ladding and Dromi, easily breaking them with his immense strength. Realizing that no ordinary chain could hold him, the gods turned to the dwarfs, who were master craftsmen and magic users, and commissioned them to create an unbreakable binding. The dwarfs forged a chain called Gleipnir, crafted from 6 impossible elements: the sound of a cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. Although Gleipnir appeared thin and silky, it was imbued with immense strength and enchantment, far beyond any mortal chain. Confident that this binding would hold Fenrir, the gods brought it to him and, again, presented the challenge as a game. However, Fenrir, growing suspicious of the gods' intentions, sensed the trickery and refused to be bound unless one of the gods placed a hand in his mouth as a gesture of goodwill and assurance. The brave god Tyr, known for his honor and courage, stepped forward and placed his hand between Fenrir's jaws. With Tyr's trust as reassurance, Fenrir allowed himself to be bound by Gleipnir. But when he tried to break free, he found himself trapped, unable to move. Enraged, Fenrir realized he had been betrayed by the gods. In a vengeful fit, he bit down, severing Tyr's hand, marking the god of war forever. Bound by Gleipnir, Fenrir was tethered to a large boulder in a remote place, and a sword was placed in his mouth to prevent him from biting. As the sword held his jaws apart, Fenrir was forced to lie helpless, foaming with rage and frustration. Despite his imprisonment, the gods knew that Fenrir's role in Ragnarök was still inevitable, as the prophecy foretold that he would one day break free and wreak havoc upon the world, bringing about the downfall of the gods. Fenrir's howls of fury and pain echoed across the realms, and it was said that he would remain bound until the beginning of Ragnarök. In the prophecy of Ragnarök, Fenrir plays a pivotal role in the cosmic battle that brings about the end of the world. When the final battle begins, it is foretold that Fenrir will break free from Gleipnir, driven by rage and a desire for vengeance against the gods who betrayed him. Freed from his bindings, Fenrir will join forces with the giants and his father, Loki, who also returns to lead the army of chaos. The prophecy foretells that Fenrir will seek out Odin in the heat of battle. The great wolf and the All-Father, bound by fate, are destined to clash in an epic confrontation. Despite Odin's might and the power of his spear, Gungnir, Fenrir's strength proves too great, and he ultimately devours Odin, fulfilling the dark prophecy that had haunted the All-Father. After slaying Odin, Fenrir continues his rampage, battling the gods and wreaking havoc across the battlefield. In the chaos, he encounters Odin's son, Vidar, who seeks to avenge his father's death. Vidar, the god of vengeance and silence, is one of the few gods strong enough to face Fenrir. In a fierce struggle, Vidar places his foot on Fenrir's lower jaw, holding it down, and with his bare hands, he tears apart the wolf's jaws, killing him. Thus, Fenrir's story comes to a brutal end, but not before he has played his role in fulfilling the prophecy that brings about the end of the gods and the rebirth of the world. Fenrir's story is a tragic one, filled with themes of betrayal, fear, and the inevitability of fate. Though he is a creature of immense strength and danger, his confinement by the gods raises questions about the nature of prophecy and the ethical decisions made to avoid it. The gods' betrayal of Fenrir, particularly Tyr's personal sacrifice, is a reminder of the complex relationships and moral dilemmas within Norse mythology. Fenrir's binding and ultimate vengeance reveal the delicate balance between the gods' efforts to maintain order and the unavoidable forces of chaos and destiny. As a symbol of wild power and fury, Fenrir embodies the destructive side of nature, a force that, though restrained, will eventually break free, bringing an end to the old world and allowing a new one to emerge.